This is something I'm worrying about. The fact that my rations are frozen. I wondered who I should talk to about this. Maybe Nastasha might have an idea?
As long as the strategy of nuclear deterrence continues, nuclear weapons may be reduced, but they will never be eliminated. If you think about it, nuclear reduction does not mean much without elimination as the ultimate goal. I used to work in the DIA. I figured the only way to achieve nuclear elimination was to work from the inside to convince them of the ineffectiveness of the deterrence theory.
Seems like you're pretty focused on that issue.
Victims of nuclear radiation are a sad thing to see, and I have seen a lot of it. I have seen more than enough of it. I was born and raised in Pripyat, Ukraine. I was 10 years old on that day, April 26, 1986.
You don't mean...
Yes, Chernobyl. That is the day that changed my life and thousands of other lives. I live just 3 kilometers north of there. 600,000 to 700,000 people were evacuated. Over 650,000 children suffered the effects of radiation poisoning. Between 1986 and 1993, 12,000 children died. My parents, and many others like them who helped in the cleanup, died a few years later from radiation sickness. We must rid this world of all nuclear weapons before they cause more misery, before they destroy the delicate environment that keeps us alive. I will not allow this pain and anxiety to pass on to yet another generation.
Nastasha, if you're looking at the current state of affairs in the world right now, I don't think you'll be very happy with the way the world is going. That said, that's something you're truly passionate about, and I understand. It would be nice if there's no more threats of nuclear warfare. Nuclear power is something that people debate about. But, like I said, if you look at the current state of affairs in the world right now, you'll be disappointed.
If we do not drastically reduce...
Is this the same thing? Oh, no, it's different things. Easier for terrorists to get their hands on them? Yeah. So I kind of wanted her to talk about my items because I thought she would have an idea about how to unfreeze the rations. Yeah, that's the other thing. With nuclear power, it translates heavily into global power. Hell, we have our stockade of nuclear warheads we can launch any time with the push of a red button. As long as the commander-in-chief is ready to push the button, we can launch, and we have tons of shit to launch at anyone.
There is no doubt about it. After the Cold War ended, the chance of a full-scale, worldwide nuclear conflagration was diminished. But on the other hand, the chances of local tactical use of nuclear weapons greatly increased. Civil wars, revolutions, regional disputes. It seems like there is a new war popping up somewhere every day. And many of them are the result of centuries-old hatred between different ethnic or religious groups. These people do not think rationally or logically. In such conflicts, there is no concern for the high civilian casualty rate, and international criticism means little. A nuclear deterrent is meaningless because emotions run so hot. Furthermore, unlike strategic nuclear missiles, the decision to use tactical nuclear missiles is in some cases left up to battlefield commanders. It is pretty scary. As long as nuclear weapons continue to proliferate, the chances that someone is going to use them will also continue to grow.
God, that spoke so closely to reality. Everything that she said, the wars that always sprout out because of just differences. The fact that in such cases, people tend to think with emotions rather than facts. And the fact that there may be other parties that, since they're kind of allowed to with the global battlefield, the global stage, they can develop their own toys, so to say.
Ironically, the policy of nuclear deterrence has prevented the elimination of nuclear weapons. The entire basis for determining them to be illegal has been undermined by this military policy. In other words, nuclear weapons cannot be declared illegal because we have an entrenched policy which makes them legal ipso facto.
I'm sorry that this video is taking a long time to start, but I'm kind of finding this fascinating before I get actual advice from Nastasha.
America and Russia are not the only countries with nuclear weapons. During the Cold War, the UK, France, and China publicly declared the existence of their own nuclear arsenals. Since we entered the 21st century, we have confirmed the existence of nuclear weapons programs in countries throughout Africa, the Middle East, South America, and Asia. Nukes are steadily proliferating. The 21st century is paying for the 20th century's failure to plug the holes in the NPT and for the IAEA's failure to tighten nuclear control measures.
Oh yeah, this game takes place in 2005. No, once again, regarding the current state of affairs, all you hear about from American news networks, because of American hysteria, is, well, North Korea. From what I hear, though, you know what, I'm not going to get into that.
The IAEA was established in 1957 to oversee peaceful as well as military applications of atomic power. But the IAEA can only investigate those countries which request an investigation. Furthermore, the timing of the inspection must be approved by the country in question. They are not allowed to do sneak inspections. The country that is being investigated can even dictate the nationality of the inspectors that they will allow in. In the late 1970s, Iraq would only allow inspectors from Bulgaria and Russia to enter the country. The IAEA does not even have the authority to level fines against countries who have committed infractions. After the Gulf War, they discovered that Iraq had been developing nuclear weapons in secret right under the investigators' noses. Unfortunately, as an organization, the IAEA just did not have the teeth to effectively stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons and technology.
And then there's all the stories of potential nuclear warfare from Iran and Iraq. And this game was before 2001 9/11, which helped spark the cause for 2002 when the United States went to war with Iraq.
In 1970, all 5 nuclear powers, America, the Soviet Union, France, England, and China, signed the NPT. The treaty provided that the non-nuclear equipped countries could receive assistance for peaceful applications of nuclear power. But military applications of nuclear power were strictly prohibited, and the IAEA was given the responsibility of investigating countries who were suspected of being in non-compliance with the NPT. But the IAEA could not stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons either. Not only couldn't the IAEA levy any penalties against violating nations, but it became impossible to distinguish between technologies which would lead to military development and technologies which were for civilian applications.
I can see the conflict because, like I said, nuclear power itself, while it sounds scary, can be a good option for alternative energy. But I'm not an expert on this.
It is so ironic. People are working as slaves to pay for weapons that must never be used. Weapons that target the people themselves. It is madness.
Indeed.
In the 20th century, in order to be a military superpower, you had to first be an economic superpower. But things changed toward the end of the century, after the collapse of communism. With all the surplus weapons and technology floating around, even economically weak countries could have a powerful military.
Oh. That's actually... That actually makes sense.
According to the military doctrine, which is the basis for NATO expansion, a preemptive nuclear strike may be undertaken if there is a sufficient threat of a regional conflict spreading to a large-scale war. In the face of all this NATO expansion, Russia might feel the need to flex their nuclear muscles, if only to show NATO that even with their aging arsenal and diminished army, they are still a major power. Russia could no longer pay enough money to its leading scientists, so they sold their weapons and weapons technology to the highest bidders. NBC weapons flowed into the hands of dictators and terrorists. The military balance of the world crumbled. The world has never seen the balance of power shift so quickly and dramatically. There is no doubt about it. After the Cold War ended, the chance of a full-scale, worldwide nuclear conflagration was diminished. But on the other hand, the chances of local tactical use of nuclear weapons greatly increased. Civil wars, revolutions, regional disputes. It seems like there is a new war popping up somewhere every day. And many of them are the result of centuries-old hatred between different ethnic or religious groups. These people do
Wait,
not
did we
think
loop back?
rationally.
I think we did. Yeah. Oh, we finally got to an end to this, didn't we?
In the 20th century,
Okay, now she's repeating information.